Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. So glad to be here with you again. Man, we're here rocking it out once again. And today we've got Jennelle Gordon. Hello, Jennelle. Right, yes.
Rockstar in the building.
Yes. So we're here talking about the Orgasmic Life. I want to tell you about Jennelle. I met her at City Summit. I've been talking about the City Summit a lot. And she was one of the people I really was impressed by and connected with. So Jennelle Gordon touches on turning past traumas into triumphs, detailing her life today after enduring a decade of human sex trafficking. Exploited by predators in her early adult life, at just 19, Jennelle was trapped in a system with no end in sight. Upon facing certain death, she faked her own death to finally escape her traffickers. Brilliant. Jennelle transformed her life through this experience, went on to found Beyond Freedom, survivor-run nonprofit dedicated to the education of the community, empowering survivors with holistic healing modalities and the enlightenment of survivors through education via partnering with the community to assist in the process of transforming victims of sex trafficking into thriving citizens of the world. To date, Beyond Freedom has partnered with fundraisers in the form of music showcases, entertainment industry events, and more to shed light on the worldwide epidemic. I don't really want to get into that, of human trafficking with positive solutions. Today at 37, Jennelle teaches also Tantra and yoga after extensive training right there from Thailand. Cool. And launched the O Factors, a holistic system of spiritual, sensual empowerment, whereby she merges all her passions and teachings into one powerful modality, which is motivated in part by her mentor, Tony Robbins, who's got a lot to do with the work she's doing as well. So we're looking forward to learning all about it. So welcome again, Jennelle.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love how those intros make you sound so cool.
Oh, you are? You're cool. You're very cool. Okay. So yeah, so let's talk about human trafficking.
Okay.
I think that's really important. I mean, we're here to talk about the orgasmic life, but I want people to understand more about this topic, and because it has so much to do with your own personal story as well. It's another reason, big reason why, of course. So, but like, yeah, I guess like for one of the questions that came into my mind that I thought would be interesting to ask for someone that has no clue about such things really, is just to ask like, how did this happen? Like, how did you find yourself in getting, in that world? All of a sudden you're in this world of being human trafficked. I mean, how does that happen? I mean, I just kind of wonder how I could imagine it, I suppose, but like, I just kind of wonder like how these things happen. And because that's what you're dedicated to, is towards helping people with in these situations. What are the genesis of this for yourself and for others that creates this on every level that you can talk about briefly?
Yeah. Well, I'll go real brief. It happens a lot easier than probably you imagine. And I think that's what's really important to understand, is that this is not some, drummed up movie like Taken. If you've seen that movie, it was a great entertaining film. And I think guys really liked it because it was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go in and, get my daughter and come in and protect, and all these things that men want to do. But it's really not like that. I'm sure there's always the exceptions, and that does happen like that in some parts of the world. But for the most part, girls, willingly walk into these situations, as was the case for me, being led and being, manipulated, being forced, having fraudulent things done to coerce them in. So it was really being a vulnerable population of growing up in the system, being poor, and having no family, and feeling like I wanted to have one of my basic human needs met, which is we all have basic human needs: the need for certainty, uncertainty, significance, connection, love, growth, and contribution. And in those needs, if we don't, we'll do anything to meet those needs, is what I'm trying to say. And so my traffickers came along and saw a vulnerable target and gave me the equivalent of meeting those needs that I desperately wanted, which was to be loved, because I never had that, being in the system and all that, to have some certainty in my life, because my life had always been so uncertain with how I grew up. And lastly, to really have a need of significance, to feel like I was someone other than just a product of the system, you know, the government's property, if you will. So that's basically, and I got lured in through someone who pretended to be my boyfriend. So yeah, that's the long and short of the process.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, that makes sense. I mean, that that could happen. I mean, so is it usually, I mean, is there any like specific kind of ways, like the thought of like people are poor and are looking to survive and have been maybe abused sometimes even well before they got into those situations, you know, find themselves they become, I don't know, strippers, or they go into prostitution or what have you, right? Just trying to survive and trying to, you know, so I mean, is that kind of some of the common sort of scenarios, or is it like man, anybody could end up in this? I'm sure that's true too, but like, I'm curious about that.
I think, you know, and for my story differently, which has been 6 years now, you know, I was trafficked in the strip clubs, and this was before really Backpage took off. In my case, you know, I wasn't trafficked through Backpage or through anything like that. I was on escort sites in Las Vegas, but I was trafficked primarily through the strip clubs. Now today, currently, that's really not the case. You don't need a strip club now. They can do all of this stuff on websites. Literally, they can go and, in fact, there's girls, high school girls, that are going to school during the day and they're being trafficked at night and on the weekends, and their parents are working and don't know. And so it's so sinister, because it can literally happen, you said it, to anyone who has a vulnerable moment. And traffickers are now targeting teens and college students. Teens, because, you know, they're going through those changes, you know, hormonally. They fight with mom and dad sometimes. It's a power struggle, right? And now traffickers and groomers can just go on social media and really track what people are doing, because people post every damn thing on there. They can tell when they've had a breakup, or when they're fighting with a girlfriend, or when their parents are mad at them, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's an easy in. And that's the thing that I think it's so crucial for parents to understand in protecting their children, is that you have to know what's going on in your kid's life more than ever. Be nosy, know their passwords, and understand that your kids are being solicited to on any online platform, including approved games, including like the PlayStation type gamers, as well as, you know, phone device games. So those are, just to answer your question, some of the ways that girls are being trafficked today. And they can be trafficked in their home. They can do camming. And the traffickers are forcing the girls to do it. Their parents can be downstairs, and the traffickers making the money. So I think that's what's important for people to understand, that right now, the norm, COVID-19, has changed our norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand that trafficking, it changes forms. It's the business. It's the second largest criminal activity in the world, which means you have a business. All your viewers have businesses. Do you adjust to the times? Yes, right? Right now, everyone's adjusting their businesses. So it's no different with this. Back then, I was being trafficked more directly through the strip clubs and casinos and hotels. Now, they can traffic your daughters while you're downstairs, you know, in the living room, and they're upstairs doing a cam show in your room, and then the trafficker's making money.
Yeah.
Yeah. That gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I mean, it's very frightening for parents for sure. I mean, makes me think, wow, you could never imagine it happen with your kids, but you never know. That's what most parents probably feel like, never my child, right? So
That's right.
you definitely have to be very vigilant. So
That's right. That's a great word.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we could do a whole show just on
Oh,
that topic alone easily.
could be a
So
whole entire show for sure.
yeah, but it speaks to your background, and it does bring more light to the topic, and hopefully the people listening too can, be more alert to what's happening with that a little bit, and they can check out more about that as well. So, and where can they learn more about your foundation? Yeah, tell them about your foundation briefly and where they can learn about that, and then we're going to get into the main topic for today. Yeah.
Great. So they can find out about my nonprofit Beyond Freedom. It's beyondfreedominternational.org, because we do serve women all over in the Netherlands and mostly Europe right now. So beyondfreedominternational.org. And we're always looking for businesses to partner with us. It doesn't even mean if it's a tax deductible donation you want, we can give you those too. But if you want to just feel like you're a part of something in your community, we had one business that actually created little gift boxes for the girls at Christmas. And they just had people in their office just donate things and write little love letters and things. And so simple things like that. And it really brought their business and their company together. So yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Nice, nice. So
Yeah.
let's talk more about the transition you had. So you were being I know more about your story a little bit beyond what you're saying, and you were being threatened and whatnot. Your life is at stake. They may even, in some cases they threaten your family, etc. So they have a lot of things to threaten people with. But you found a way. You faked your own death, and then you transitioned into starting to create the life that you have today. So tell us about that story, how you broke out of it and you faking your death. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, for me, it wasn't just threats. And I think almost every girl, I would say, I don't know the exact percentage, but I know that most girls do suffer some kind of abuse. A lot of it, some of them, it is just psychological. For me, it was both. But I did suffer extensive abuse and head trauma for 10 years that actually, left me with brain injury. So I have learning challenges now that I have to overcome every day. So for me, I knew that I couldn't keep on going on like this because it was going to end up killing me because I'd had so many concussions. So there was just enough leverage at the time, and I plotted one night with a coworker a way that we could fake my own death and to get away from this trafficker in Vegas. And after that, I ended up, and when I realized in the end that he didn't even respond, he didn't even care, I knew that that was my way to get out for good. And so unfortunately, that was not the first time I got out. I ended up with another one. And finally, my trafficker was pursuing me from the penitentiary. So I had to flee to Thailand, and I moved to a remote island. And that's where I began my healing process. And I started studying Tantra. And that's really where the story kind of began.
Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so you went to Thailand, and what were you doing there then?
Well, in Thailand, I went to an ashram, and I studied Tantra extensively at this school, at this ashram, for a year. I actually went to India for a brief time as well. And I just learned to heal, and I learned to just get back into my body and to focus my energy and my intention on not disassociating anymore. I'm actually taking my physical body, my energetic body, my mental, my sexual, my spiritual body, and realizing that they were actually all one. And so that was huge for me. And while I was there, I also was learning to craft and create modalities that now are the O factors, I would later be able to create a business, a sustainable business for myself and now for my son, as you just saw. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So that's pretty fascinating. Went from being sex trafficked to an ashram. I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing in itself, right there.
To say the least,
So
yes.
yeah, so what was that like? I mean, how did you feel? I'm just curious, like how did that feel to be there? Like all of a sudden now you're went from that to this, how did that transition feel?
That transition was really hard because I remember, my entire life, and I don't know if I said this in the questions, but I came from a physical and sexual abusive background as a child, from 4 up all the way up to almost 5. So I had gone through a lot of trauma very young. Like I look at my son now and it's crazy to me that I had gone through so much at his age, because I see him now and he's, just crazy as ever and has so much energy and so much life and light. And that was like really taken from me. And so if you think about an entire life, 30 some years of that, and then going into severe abuse and exploited sexuality for another 10 years, with what I experienced, it was a lot. So I had just always had trauma and abuse in my life. And then in my early 30s, I land on this island in Thailand, and it's like, I'm not working, I'm not stripping. I went from stripping, there's times I would go 30, 60, 90 days, just around the clock, 15-hour shifts, crazy, crazy. And so just to have all of that, and then you just stop. And it's like, it was so intense. And I actually went through so much purification and just releasing of emotions and trauma. And I gained a bunch of weight. I developed cystic acne. It was almost like the hormone fluctuation and imbalance of my emotions actually being able to process them. It was my physical body couldn't even contain it. So it was a really crazy time. But I never gave up on myself. And thankfully, I had people in the Tantra school in my ashram that were my friends and that are today are still my lifelong friends, that stood by me in my most ugliest, darkest of times, because the first 6 months wasn't pretty. It was really the last, 4 to 6 months where things started to just be beautiful, because and you think about it, like a lifetime of trauma, I cleaned up in about 6 years, or 6 months. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, there must have been something inside you that just knew, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make it through this or something. I mean, even though when you're so afraid, but something that kept you going, some inner guiding light is the feeling I get. Like you always had that connection with it, and no matter what happened, it never took that away from you. And that you stayed in some level of contact with that. That's my energetic read of you anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it was like every step of the way, it was like, really like the story brand, Donald Miller, I can say that. And really any movie or television or that you watch, it has this whole storyline. And it was my life. Like I was meeting guide after guide along the way that was like showing me this and teaching me this. And the lessons were painful. Most of the time they weren't fun. And, but on the other side was the realization of the whole story. I was like, whoa, that's why that happened. And that's why all this happened, to get to my son. So would I, do it all over again for my son and for the work I do now? Like, of course,
Right.
As painful as it was, of course. So, yeah.
With all that pain and everything, all the trauma and everything, I mean, it's amazing that you would be a representative in a sense of this orgasmic life, the O factors, all this stuff, that you would be able to, that yet you're still like, you're able to give yourself to that in a way that feels amazing and perfect and healing and wonderful for you and for the people that you serve. So, and I would think that because of your background, that there must be some magic to that pain that you have, that you bring into the work that you do with people. And the reason why I mention this too is not only to get deeper into your special sauce, I guess I want to say, what you do, but I feel like it's important for our listeners to hear that no matter how much trauma you've been, you can utilize that to have, you know, an amazing life, to have, you know, to transmute that into something incredible. And so I'd love for you to talk about that. How have you utilized that pain moving forward to do the work that you're doing now, which, you know, we're going to get into what that is, but how has that served you in doing this work that you're doing now with Tantra, and talk about the old factors and all this sort of, all the things you do?
Yeah, so for me, I always believe that your pain is your power. And for me, my pain is now my platform. And, you know, I took something very tragic and have created this, you know, triumphant, you know, place in life. And so every day for me, it is orgasmic just to wake up and just to be free and just to be fully in my body, not to be enslaved to anyone, not to be in places and situations that I don't want to be in. And so it is real, like that simplistic of a, like, it's a beautiful day just waking up every morning. And I really feel that. Yeah, I have a bad day just like everyone else, but then I am very quickly reminded, like, of where I am and how luscious and delicious that feels. And so for me doing this work, I think I don't even like to call it work because it feels so much like home to me. It's offering, you know, this service to people of helping people to shake the shame around their pain and trauma and fear and, you know, shame around their sexuality. Like, this
Yeah.
is a massive, massive issue we have today,
Mhm.
which is ultimately why we have businesses like human sex trafficking in the first place, because the sexual shame that people feel around this leads them underground to do things, a perversion of sexuality, instead of celebrating it and honoring it and worshiping it like it's something to be respected and to be enjoyed in a healthy, consensual, you know, way. And we don't do that. We sell it everywhere, we exploit it, and then we pervert it and we shame it. And so it's like a vicious cycle. We sell it, you know, we exploit it, we pervert it, we shame it, and it just keeps going. And that's why we have so many women enslaved today, and so much porn addiction, and so much loveless, sexless marriage. And I could go on and on and on. You know, kids that are learning about sex through porn, not through the schools, not through their parents. You know, kids have seen their first naked selfie, sent their first naked selfie by the age 14 to 19. Like, you know, and so all these things, it's like, why not me? I'm the perfect person for this because I have experienced every spectrum of, you know, every place in the spectrum, rather, from growing up in an extremist fundamental Christian cult. That's one of the families I was placed with. That's what I grew up in. And then going into the strip club and the adult world, being exploited, and then coming to the other side where I found that spirituality is actually sexuality. It's the same energy. And so having that, just that well-versed, well-rounded view of life, of sexual life, makes me able to be an expert in this field. You know, people are like, oh, did you go to, you know, someone was saying on LinkedIn, I had no business teaching about this stuff because she studied sex in school or something, took some sex class you get a degree in, maybe sexologist or whatever it's called. And I said, well, actually I do. You know, you took a theory class. Nothing about my life is theory. I've actually lived it. So I think that's where my power is. My pain is my power. And that's why I'm such an effective coach, because I can relate, or I can understand the deepest pain, shame, trauma around sexuality. I've experienced it.
Right. I think a lot of people lose that because, you know, you've got a lot of attractive photos online and everything. People, I think they just automatically think, no matter what you say your story is, like, oh, she just is, you know, like she's just got it all together in a sense, and she's confident, and, you know, she's, you know, just like she doesn't have these issues. She probably has no shame. Look, what she's doing in these pictures, like, so people wouldn't think you have those issues, you know, they wouldn't believe that. But, you know, and listening to you now, it's like, it's to get past, you know, appearances. I love that you showed up at the event and you had the numbers on your head or, you know, all that stuff, like the barcode or whatever. And like, just, yeah, because it speaks so much to what you talk about. And I feel like, although, you know, you're unique to most of the people listening and the specific experiences you've had, but at the same time, it's like, we're all experiencing certain levels of what you've experienced in our own ways. And I think that's what and you've had such a depth of experience in it that it brought you to a deeper understanding of it. Yes. That makes you an outstanding teacher of that, because shame is probably right at the top of the list.
It's right here. Shame and fear. You know, those are the ugly cousins that we don't want to hang around. You know, like, and I think everyone can say that they've had, you know, and I've met a few people that have. One of my teachers actually says, like, I've never had any sexual trauma or anything ever. The only thing she felt is she didn't feel empowered in it. She was, you know, so, but most people are not that. Most people can say maybe they weren't sex trafficked, but they have been sexually assaulted or harassed, or guys, and with guys too, you know, as young boys or as children, or they've been hyper masculinized. I don't even know if that's a word, but you know what I'm trying to say. They've been taught that hyper masculinity is where they need to be. And what that does is that really disassociates them from being able to connect into their body. And in order to really experience pleasure, and we're talking about the physical pleasure, not even the intimate aspect, but you have to be in your body. Mm-hmm. And most men experience pleasure in one area, and it's about this many inches. It's the top part of the penis. That's it. And so we got to get men into all of their body. And with women, it's a little different, but most women are so like out of their body because just they've had rape or sexual assault as a child, or, you know, partners that they, you know, the list goes on, right? The Me Too movement then came up, you know, so it's a lot of stuff we have to deal with, or the pressures of women to behave a certain way in corporate America. And so you can't be too feminine. You've got to show up as a man. And it's like, this is killing the polarity of relationships today. So these are all the things that we address and we work on, and we really remedy in the work that I do.
So we got into so much depth here that we missed the basics of, like, that's how I roll though with a lot of these shows sometimes, but we haven't even got the basic. What are the O factors? First of all, what is Tantra? So let's spend a few minutes here. What is Tantra? First thing people think of probably is sex. Like, oh, it's sex. You know?
They think it's
something to do with sex, kinky stuff, right? Or something. Yeah. So tell us what Tantra really is.
So it's not the Kama Sutra. It's what you probably think of with Sting and things like that. It's actually, it's a personal development path. This is the way I have been sharing it now, and it seems to be really well with my target market, which is coaches and entrepreneurs, is, you know, personal development is all the rage. You know, Tony Robbins maybe set the stage, maybe before him it was Jim Rohn, and, you know, the list goes on. But right now, everyone's a coach, everyone's in personal development. And so that's really what Tantra is. It's a path of personal development that combines, loops together different practices or rituals to really create a life of presence, of connection, of what we call transfiguration, which means moving beyond. Right now, we need transfiguration in our life because there's so much chaos with COVID-19. And Tantra shows us that even in the chaos of what is around us on the media, on Facebook, everywhere you look, you can literally turn this whole situation into a beautiful state. And so Tantra teaches you how to live life with more connection, more bliss, more presence, and more orgasms. That's the sexual aspect of Tantra every single day. Mm-hmm. And I think we all want that, you know, and it's just sure path to more energy and to really creating more prosperity in your life because of the principles of energy and because of the principles of polarity. So the polarity, meaning the charges of the masculine and feminine energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are so tell us about that then. I mean, the specifics that you teach about. You said you, while you were there learning about all these things in Tantra and, all this stuff in Thailand, you started developing these O factors. Can you tell us about what that is?
Yeah, so the O factors as a whole was basically like a set of daily practices or daily rituals that I pulled together from everything that I used to heal my life when I came out. So, from number one, organic nutrition. I'm an IIN graduate, so I'm a holistic nutritionist, and then organized Zen living, how to create Zenness everywhere you are. Openness, so the yoga practice, oneness, the meditation, the mindfulness practice, opulent self-care, really learning to love myself. And we need more of that today, to take care of and love myself. And Dance Om was one of the modalities that I created there, which is a modality that fuses dance movement, Tantra yoga, and what people would consider like striptease dancing, twerking, into a whole modality that is based on the first four energy centers or archetypes, chakras of the body. So I created this modality, dance movement therapy. It's called Dance Om. And then the last O is orgasmic creation, and that deals with Tantra. And so each O is something that I am trained in, as a yoga teacher, nutritionist, a Reiki master, meditation expert, and Tantra teacher, dance movement therapist. I kind of put them all into one because I wanted people to be able to have like a system that they could use. And so that's what the O factors is. And that's why I created, my courses, to have this information accessible to people online. Before the coronavirus hit, I created these, and now realizing like how powerful they are because anyone can do this work right now in your own home. So yeah.
You don't have to be able to get out in the world to be doing this work. So,
which is amazing because nobody can go anywhere at the moment, at least for us in California.
That's a perfect time to take better care of yourself. I mean, I think that's a huge opportunity. So, I guess one of the questions I have in the work that you share, I mean, is this for, sometimes when women are doing this, this is like for women only? Is this for women only? Is it for some men? How do you work with people? Tell us about that. Yeah.
So I work with men and women. I have a program just for women called Dance Om, and I'm actually going to be creating a program just for men too, because a lot of my clients happen to be men. But my 7 O's to Lasting Connection and Intimacy course is for men and women. It's for anyone who wants to really dive deeper into intimacy in their lives, and understanding that intimacy really starts with yourself. And so for people who really want to have that lasting connection and intimacy, and want to have that intimate connection in their romantic relationships, really in any relationship, that course is the course. And it is a Tantra course in and of itself. But I want people to understand what Tantra is. It is about creating more connection and more intimacy. There is a sexual aspect to it, and we cover that as well. But it is really the all-encompassing practice of being more intimate with yourself, with your partner, with your lover, with your future partner or lover, with your children, with your coworkers, anyone in your family, and learning how to really harness and channel your sexual energy into creating more of what you want in your life. So, and that's exactly what I did. I used the tantric principles of energy to create the life that I now have. And so that's what I share people to do. That's why it's called orgasmic creation. So it's really fun to be able to do this. And then, like I said, I do have a program just for women too, which is the dance program. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching is probably still my most popular, although not everyone's budget can afford that. So we have group coaching that we do. We have a Tantra mastermind. I think it's actually one of the first of its kind, which is really cool. And then we have the online courses. Yeah, so it's really this, you can do, right now is a great time to do this work because everything's so uncertain. Everyone's feeling stuck, and now's the time to go in and discover and rediscover your greatest power. Your greatest power is your sexual energy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because there's Certainly, been many people that have said that, you know, your sex energy is the most powerful thing ever. And so I wanted to ask you about that. I've heard that many times in the past, and I've never had a chance to ask someone that said it this question. Why in the world would you say your sex energy is actually your most powerful thing? Isn't our connection with source itself like, you know, or do you feel like that is what that is? Of course, it's all source, but I'm just saying, like, why would you say that? I'm just curious. I'd love to hear the answer.
Well, that's a great question, and you actually answered the question. Your sexual energy is your greatest power because it's the essence of who you are in this life. You were born, you know, sex created you, the orgasm created you, and it created life. Like there's no other power on the planet that can create life. So it is the most powerful energy. It's the combination of the divine masculine and divine feminine merging and creating. And so when you ask why it is the most, yes, it is source energy. Your sexual energy is source energy because it's the highest divine masculine Shiva and the highest divine feminine Shakti. And those two together transcend the duality of this world and create source and create, you know, create the essence of everything that is in you, that is not in you, that is you. And so it is the same. And that's where people have the hang up on, because we've been conditioned to believe that sexuality is not spirituality. You can't talk about sex in church. You can't talk about sex, period. Like, you can't have sex in a church. You can't have, you know, like all these things. But like and that's why we think that. But when we understand that it's literally all the same thing, and that is what Tantra teaches us, to channel that energy because it is our power, and to use it to really create whatever it is that you want to create, it being different with each and every person.
Yeah, yeah, once you get I imagine what you teach people is to be conscious when they're engaging that energy and when they're, you know, when they're suppressing it. I want to say, like, I could see how, you know, how you could be a teacher for that, because I can tell when mine's engaged or not engaged and that sort of thing. So that would be so powerful. That'd be so life transforming. Just even having that awareness alone, like that one piece alone is huge. I mean, so they make a huge difference in people's lives. So
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's having the awareness of, you know, and that's one of the first steps of practicing sexual tantra is perception. So it's perception, perceiving the energy. And then, you know, we move into the other phases. But once you can perceive the energy, you can feel it, and you're aware of it, then you understand, then you can begin to wrap your head around, how do I control it? How do I channel it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then
And then I want to say, and beyond, right? So, and then beyond, yeah, that is so powerful. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. Very, very cool. All part of why I wanted to have you on today. And it's such a deep thing. Now, where could people learn a lot more about it? Where would they go to do that?
So they can go to my website, theofactors.com. That's super simple. So theofactors with an S.com. If they want to, you know, get free content, they can go to my YouTube channel, and it's Jennelle Gordon. It's just, there's no name on my YouTube, and they can follow me also on Facebook. They can friend me, Jennelle Gordon, and I put a ton of free content on Instagram as well. It's I am Jennelle Gordon. So those are the best modalities. If they're interested in the course, you know, I'm offering a special right now where it's half off all of my courses. And then I'm also offering 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with me with the purchase of a course. So that's really great. And I just felt, you know, implored to take that, to offer that to my clients because of what's going on with, you know, the pandemic, and just to adjust to the times of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that, you're so generous. There's a lot of free content, like you said, on your YouTube channel. And
Yes.
you did one recently about COVID. You first person I heard about the intravenous vitamin C cure and prevention too was from you. You're the first person that talked about that. Like people taking this intravenous vitamin C are not getting the COVID. I mean, so there's definitely gems that Jennelle has for you that other people aren't talking about. You would definitely want to take advantage of checking all that out. Now, you also said that you have your phone number you wanted to give
Yeah,
to people too. So
absolutely.
if they want, because I think it's so powerful when people contact you personally. You can tune right into how you can support them and just
Yes.
help them. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I offer, complimentary coaching, uh, uh, um, Tantra strategy sessions, rather. And yeah, I love doing that because I can help to see if they would be a good fit for working with me, because not everyone is. But my number is 949-701-1946. And so, yeah, I would love for people to call me. There's another thing that glutathione. It's a huge, huge antioxidant. It's one of the most powerful ones. So if you can take that right now, I was taking it already. I didn't know. And then I work with a lot of doctors because I am a nutritionist, and a lot of doctors here in Orange County will refer me their clients that need detoxed or that have to stay on diet plans or stress reduction through yoga and meditation. So one of the doctors I work with, she was actually on the national news for, she goes around and she does house calls. So she already has that as her practice, but now she's going around and testing patients right outside their home. So it's really cool. But anyway, so yeah, 949-701-1946. I would love to talk with you and see if you're a good fit for to work with me. And if you're interested in the courses, again, like I said, they're half off, and I'm offering 3 free sessions with the purchase of the course. 7 O's to lasting connection and intimacy. I have other guest speakers on there. I have a Vedic astrologer that does relationship astrology, as well as a master male tantra teacher to explain really in depth the men practices. So it's an amazing course.
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. So awesome. So this is huge. People on Think and Grow Rich, I think it was the first time I heard about the power of the sexual energy, and transmuting that energy is like everything. Like it's one of those, this is everything, like there's always something that's everything, right? That's one of them. And so this is someone that can help you with that. So for those that are wanting to rock it out, people that are really rocking it out in a big way have in one way or another often mastered this sort of working with this. So,
And
yeah.
that's great that you brought that up, because a lot of times if I'm appealing to a more business clientele or a more, successful entrepreneurs, I tell them, they say, what do you do? And I just say, hey, have you read the book Think and Grow Rich? And of course they say yes. And I say, well, the chapter on sexual transmutation, I teach that like fully. So yeah, super cool that you brought that up.
Exciting. Because I don't feel like the book really adequately shares with you how to really do that. So but so you get the secrets now. So all right. All right. So check it out, theofactors.com, Jennelle Gordon on YouTube, and we'll put other links and whatnot, or call Jennelle. And normally we might go a little bit longer, a little bit further, but we're on a hard stop today. So we're just going to leave it that for today, Jennelle. And I'm just so grateful for you and what you're doing in the world at all levels with your nonprofit and this rock and work that you do. And Tony Robbins even, I didn't mention that, but Tony Robbins even got on board to support you in doing your nonprofit and mentor and everything. It's just so cool. But anyway, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today, and much blessings and love for you and your work.
Thanks so much, Daniel. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to connect with all your listeners. And I'd love to come back on another time. Maybe I can show you guys a few things.
Sure, absolutely. Hopefully open to that. So, okay, everybody. Well, great to be with you again. Y'all have an amazing, blissful, orgasmic life.
Perfect way to end.
Yes, and you keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Show. Okay, Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.